Well, hello you wonderful people, I'm Amy or AWayfaringFrog and welcome back to the channel and welcome to another speed build. So today we are jumping straight back into our mini series of little fairy cottages in Glimmerbrook. So I actually started the series way before Enchanted by Nature got announced, and so we're making fairy cottages, seasonal themed fairy cottages, and even though Enchanted by Nature is out next week, I did really want to finish this series before that came out, just because I feel like it's not fair for the winter one to be the only one using the new fairy pack. So I just wanted to do it before that came out. And then they're all kind of similar in a way because the new pack just looks amazing and I can't wait to build with it, but I want to build different things and not focus on these little seasons houses. You can always go back and do some more seasonal themed builds if you are interested, so let me know in the comments down below if that is something you'd like to see, but I'm not really sure exactly what I want to build with the new pack when it comes out yet. I am just super excited to get my hands on it. Maybe a hobbit home or something, because I've never done anything like that before. Although with the new curved roofs, it looks a little bit awkward in terms of being able to put plants on top of it. So I'm not a fan of that, which is unfortunate, but I guess we'll see how it is when we do get full access to that. But anyhow, the exterior of this build actually came together the quickest out of all of these seasonal fairy builds. I'm not really sure why. I think it was just because it was such a simple exterior. I didn't really add much to it. Just this little outcropping for the entrance to the garden, as well as a small little porchway. And I think this one ends up having my favourite layout as well. Clearly I've just progressed through each of the houses and have slowly improved or something, because I just really like the layout of this. I think it makes the most sense. And I think it might be my favourite interior. I always feel like the last build I do is my favourite, so that's probably why I'm saying that. But I love darker wood tones, and this build has a lot of them. I was really going for kind of white, almost icy accents alongside lots of this deep wood colour, so it's kind of like a bit of a log cabin vibe. And I also grabbed lots of Snowy Escape. So you can see on the exterior, we've got those white accents using plenty of the Realm of Magic packs, so they have this kind of mystical energy to it. And then I used Snowy Escape, as I mentioned, for the most part in the landscaping, and that's mostly because it's got the snowy pieces. So it really helped bring in that winter vibe throughout, and there's even a tree that has snow on it. It's got the biggest hitbox imaginable. So as soon as I placed it, I did go off camera and play test, and it's okay. It's one of the hitboxes that your Sims don't actually have to worry about, if that makes sense. There are some items that look like they wouldn't impact your Sim's movement, but they do. And there are others where it looks like, oh dear, your Sims just aren't going to be able to walk past this thing, and they walk right through it. So it's one of those, the second one. But anyway, we are just doing the floor plan here. We've got the bedroom at the front of the house, living space at the back with the back door into the garden from there, as well as a bit of an entrance hallway section. And then the stairway down goes into the kind of skill building potion room, as well as the bathroom in there. So it's a little bit similar to the spring house, which we did first. I will link the playlist and all of the other videos down below if you wanted to check out the previous ones. And if you wanted to download this build, it is now available on the Sims 4 gallery, just under my EAID, AWayfaringFrog. It's also under the hashtag AWayfaringFrog, and the information for all of that is in the description down below. There are two versions on the gallery. One is just a residential and one is a residential rental, because residential rentals are a nightmare, and if you don't have for rent, then you won't even be able to download the build, which is a bit weird. So I always like to make sure to put both versions on there ever since I discovered that. But now we are going in with the landscaping. So these low-lying blue flowers are also from Snowy Escape, and I think the blue highlights throughout really help with that icy tone that I was going for. And then the little white splodges that you can see dotted around, those are the snowy pieces from Snowy Escape. And there was a lot of nice ivy, so I draped that over the fencing here and there just because it felt, even though it's winter, something about all of the greenery just felt very foresty and log cabiny, so I really wanted to make sure I included lots of that. And it's a mystical fairy build. I feel like you have to have lovely amounts of landscaping. But this little snowdrift at the back, that's one of the items that I was kind of referring to, where it felt like the hitbox on it might be a bit too big and your Sims can't actually walk through it. But because it's snow, I think it's fine. And it's the same for these snowy trees. And I think they work so well here. I didn't want to set a specific season for this build because, of course, each build is a separate season. So I just kind of went, well, I guess I went for summer, but I feel like that's the most neutral insofar as all of the greenery looks, how it comes out of the catalogue. And so I didn't want to set the season to snowy while I was doing this build, but I feel like having like little bits of snow here and there almost looks like it snowed the previous day and now it's kind of melting and on its way out, but still clinging to some sections. So I thought that was kind of fun. So even though it is a wintry build, I feel as if it would work in pretty much all seasons. And it's a fairy's house, so they have probably the magical ability to make sure some of the snow stays put. And in the garden, I am just using that same terrain paint that I've used throughout the rest of the lot. Again, if you wanted to see the building of the main part of the lot, including the pond, that's all in the first video, so the spring build. I also wanted to add a bit more wood to the entrance to the garden, so I grabbed this little archway from Get Together. It just brought in that dark wood tone again, as well as some more like ivy items, which I really liked. And then the back garden in this particular build is the simplest by far. It's also the smallest, I think, but because it's meant to be winter, I figured there wouldn't be much out here anyway. So I included a little fire pit so your Sims could roast marshmallows. And this chair is from City Living, maybe, or Base Game, I've forgotten which now. But it's so pretty. I don't think I've ever used the chair before, and I've definitely never used it in that swatch. So it was nice to be able to use it here, and the blue tone on it I felt matched perfectly. But we are jumping inside, starting with the living space, and I used some of the cozy, no, not cozy kitchen, the first ever kitchen kit. I've forgotten what it's called now. Is it Country Kitchen? It might be that one. I got the fridge and the stove from there. For the countertops, I ended up using Cottage Living. I just really like the dark wood tone of these, and as much as I love the Country Kitchen kit, the wood tone of the countertops is very pale, so it just wasn't working here. I also discovered this swatch of the Cottage Living wallpaper. I have used this wallpaper in another house, but in a greener tone, and this one just felt really wintry as well. So, I don't know, it just looks like frosted grass, you know, when it goes almost blue in tone because of all the frost on it. So that's what I was envisioning when I picked out this particular wallpaper, and I made sure to include the TV that came in the event that happened at the end of 2024, which was kind of a Christmassy, wintry themed event. And again, it brings in all of those icy colours that I wanted to go for. And the living space I thought was really fun. I've got the fireplace from the Bella Goth kit or Secret Sanctuary, and then the sofa is actually from Paranormal Stuff. And just behind the sofa, I decided to add a little island for the kitchen because in terms of the skills that each of these fairy sims are meant to kind of have throughout, I wanted to show their hobbies and what they are interested in. So I also tried to theme them sort of seasonally. And so for the winter build, I felt like baking would be a big part of that. So I kind of needed the kitchen space. And thanks to the kitchen clutter kit, that just really helped to make it look like there was lots of baking going on. And so the island just felt really suitable for that purpose because it just gave me even more counter space to be able to clutter up. And it's totally usable. Your Sims can easily walk through and things. There might be like ever so slight clipping issues in terms of the animation, but when I play tested, it seemed to work perfectly fine, so it shouldn't be any issues for you. And it just looked really fun and cozy, so I hope you agree. I did, as I mentioned, use plenty of the items from the kitchen clutter kit. I think it's such a fun kit. I love decorating kitchens, and so I think having the clutter kit for a kitchen is just perfect. And a lot of the items in it do have gameplay associated with them, like the cookie jar. You can also order groceries through the grocery bag. So it's just really useful from a gameplay perspective too. But at this point, we've pretty much finished with the kitchen. I think I just end up adding a bit more clutter onto this little side table behind this sofa. This one is from the jewelry making pack, Crystal Creations. That was another skill I ended up adding in, partly just because the assets from that particular pack feel very wintry to me. They've just got those kind of deepish bluey tones, so I include that in the basement as kind of the main skill. And then because it's winter, I feel like cozy, crafty skills like knitting and cross stitch felt really applicable to this kind of build. So I went ahead and added those in. So those I envisioned would be the main hobbies that your sim would have if they were to live here. I am now just going through and adding lots of little details here and there, so some curtains just to help make the space feel a little bit more cozy. I did also add some radiators earlier. I just think they're such a cute item, and being in the UK, you get radiators literally everywhere, so I kind of can't believe that we've only really got them in for rent. There was a radiator in, or there is a radiator in Vampires, but it's really stylized, so I like having the for rent ones because they feel a bit more realistic. I also used this little pillar next to the fireplace, which is from the the something living room kit. Refined Living, I think it's called. It's another CC Creator kit. I've never found a use for that because, I don't know, I just never really know how to use a pedestal when I'm interior decorating, to be honest. But I thought it worked really nicely next to the fireplace here. It was the perfect size, and it just meant that I could add a bit of greenery in the corner without using my favorite hanging plant from the Blooming Rooms kit. So it mixed it up a bit, giving a bit more variety in the number of plants in here. Oh, I also made sure to add the hot cocoa item. It's on the coffee table, just next to the sofa, because, again, it just feels so wintry and perfect, so I had to make sure to include that. I didn't do much with the dining area. There wasn't a lot of space at that point, so I just added a little flower pot, which I thought looked really cute. And even though flowers aren't really a wintry thing, because they're all probably dead by that point, they just looked really cute. And again, it's a fairy's house, so I imagine they have the magic to make sure that their flowers stay alive even during the coldest months. And the entry space is very simple. I included the mat, or the little welcome mat from that same event that the TV came from, and then just added a bit of clutter in here. There wasn't too much space, so I wasn't able to add a lot, but I think it still looks nice and fleshed out regardless. And I put a little pen pot with paper, which comes from the Life and Death expansion pack. It's just a tiny quill, and I felt like maybe they come in and just like write little notes about what they need to remember to do or something, and then it's at the front door ready for whenever they leave the house, which I just thought was kind of a cute idea. And then I just continue decorating the space with lots of artwork, so it looks full despite there not really being any space to be able to put furniture around. And then just changing up the lights a bit. I did keep the small saucer lights just because the ones that I ended up picking, which are from Lovestruck, again, I really love them. They're really pretty, but they don't provide a lot of light. So I added some of the saucer lights in just to help with that. So even though they don't feel very fairy-esque or rustic, they serve a functional purpose here, so we just went with that. And then into the bedroom, I used the same wallpaper in here as well, I think pretty much throughout the entire build, but it just felt too perfect. And I did try out off camera some other wallpapers, like the Life and Death one with the crows on the wall, but I just wasn't feeling it. I feel like that cottage living one was just perfect. And then the bedroom is fairly simple. It's quite small. There is a nice big wardrobe from Get Together, as well as a big mirror, which comes from the Jungle Adventure pack. And I included these little fairy lights in a few spaces because they just felt really cute and, again, very wintry. But there wasn't a lot of space to include any kind of skill building in the bedroom. So the little cross-stitch box that I've got currently in the middle of the room does end up moving downstairs into the basement. Oh, actually, I lied. I did add in a little knitting basket. That was more for decoration though, because your Sims actually need the knitting basket in their inventory to be able to knit from it, unlike the cross-stitch kit where you click on it and tell them to cross-stitch and they'll just go and pick the stuff up that they need. With the knitting skill, they need to actually just have that in their personal inventory, which is a little bit odd, and it's kind of sad because then when you make a nice looking knitting room, you have to put the knitting basket straight into the inventory. So you usually need two, I guess, if you want it to stay there looking like a nice decoration. But anyhow, we are now jumping into the basement. This build came together so quickly, I actually don't believe it. I'm usually such a slow builder. But I used the Realm of Magic bathroom set for the most part, the sink and the toilet, and then combined that with this Vampire's shower tub combo, which had some blue on it, and I really like the silver accents. Again, for winter, I felt like that suited the vibe way more than gold. And this is, I think, one of the only Vampire's shower tub combo swatches that comes with silver accents, and it was just perfect for this, so I made sure to include that. I also used a few things from the sleek bathroom kit because I just love it. I think it's such a pretty bathroom kit, and the items all look fantastic. And again, it had the perfect swatches in here as little accents, so it kind of looked really nice and magical whilst also having a bit of a modern touch, which I thought was nice. And again, I made sure to include that little radiator again because it just feels so realistic. You don't want to get out of your shower and step onto a really cold, horrible tile floor. That just sounds nasty, so we need to make sure the room is nice and cozy. We are now heading into the skill building space though, and this is where I included the cauldron for all of these seasonal fairy houses. I wanted to make sure that there was a cauldron here since at the time the closest thing we had to fairies was spellcasters, and this is just such a key piece to be able to use spellcasters in The Sims 4. And I wanted again to make this a really cozy space, so I went with a wall of bookshelves. I couldn't get them all the way to the ceiling though because they kind of clip with the floor above, so it just looked really odd. And I put a little sofa in there from Crystal Creations just to make it look a little bit built in. There is one that comes with the Book Nook kit that's meant to be used for that kind of purpose, but it just looked way too modern and it didn't quite have the right colours. So I love this one from Crystal Creations as well. I think it's so pretty and works really nicely for these builds. And then the clutter I used for this bookshelf was very much crystal themed, as well as that little cross-stitch kit I mentioned that's just on the shelf so that your Sims can easily access it in order to do any cross-stitch that they need to. And I picked mostly just bluey white crystals because again they just looked kind of like icicles, so it really fit the wintry vibe and I just thought it looked so pretty. So I didn't imagine your Sim would actually use these crystals to do their Crystal Creations crafting. Probably go and collect some others or buy them from your Sim's phone or the computer because these ones look pretty. And I also alt placed them, so being able to put them back might be a little bit difficult, but if you do decide to download the build, obviously you do what you want, but that was the aim there. I also added some hanging plants up above. They're a little bit samey, but because this is the only plant that we have that kind of drapes down like that, I went ahead and added a few of them anyway and just changed the size of one to help make it a little bit different. I also added another knitting basket down here because again I was going for the kind of cozy vibes and hobbies, so I wanted to make sure there was plenty of yarn storage space. I am a crocheter myself and oh my gosh, I need so much storage space to fit all of my ridiculous amounts of yarn. I don't think any human needs this much yarn, but hey, I seem to have accumulated it over the years. But at that point we are coming to the end of the speed build portion of the video, so if you have enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button. It really does help the channel. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on the next video. I've also started doing lots of Let's Plays, so be sure to check those out if that interests you, and I will be for sure building with Enchanted by Nature once I get my hands on it. For now though, I'll leave you with the screenshots. I really hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye for now!